Hey, this is Vu, and today I'm going to be talking about consistency. And something that I think most people don't really realize about consistency, at least when it comes to CS, is it's not one of these magical things where some people are consistent and some people aren't. And you're not going to have a band-aid fix where do this and you will suddenly be consistent. No, unless you're at the professional level, you're probably not going to find any people that are fully consistent. And even there, it's hard to be fully consistent. The problem is inconsistency mostly stems from, in my experience, players that have incomplete gameplay. They have holes in their gameplay that they need to work on, and some teams will be able to exploit this and other teams won't. Now, this doesn't mean that you can kind of be like, oh, I can't play against oppers. It might not be something as specific as that. It might be a little thing a player does against you that you have trouble with, or it might be that you have a comfort spot to go to on a certain map. For example, when you're working picks on Dust 2, some players like to go for this early pick at long A. Now, if you for some reason get shut out of long A, maybe you're a aggressive opper and their opper is just a little bit quicker than you on this corner or something like this, then you have to go to your secondary spot a lot of the time. However, one thing that causes a lot of inconsistency and causes some problems is players that are stubborn about this. They keep going back, and that's when you find these players that go like 0-16 or 0 whatever, and they have really hard times finding any kills. It's when they kind of force things that don't work. That's when that happens the most. Now, unfortunately, when you don't try and force that, you try and play a little bit safe and go somewhere else, what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a scenario that you're not comfortable with, something that you're not as experienced with, and that means that you can't deal with as many playstyles in the second area you wish to go to. And that means if someone there is playing a playstyle that you haven't seen before or that you have trouble with, you can certainly have some terrible games. Now, I want to point out that this all leads to the fact that you are not better than your bottom fragger. And this is something that ironically happens, or I see the most at these lower ranks, where someone's like, I'm the top fragger, I'm so much better than you, I've got 10 more kills, learn to play. And it stems a little bit of shit talking there, but it really stems from this weird opinion, that I'm doing better, so I am better. However, these people seem to not realize that when you're in the lower ranks, that's when you're the most inconsistent. That's when players do things like not checking every corner. And of course, when you don't check every corner, that doesn't mean you're going to die from that corner every time. However, you will end up dying from it some of the time, and that can stack up and lead to you having a bad game and having a little bit of consistency problems. So really, as you get up and up in the ranks, really what it means is you are a more complete player in general, and most of the time when you look at these higher ranked plays, these players are going to be, in general, able to be a little bit more consistent because they're not focusing solely, and they have the experience behind them so that if something goes wrong and their main gameplay style isn't working out, they can fall back onto some fundamentals and they can fall back onto something that allows them to still have a mediocre but not terrible game. And so one of the things that you can hopefully do to try and deal with this is I see a lot of these lower ranked players kind of check out when they're having a bad game, and it can sometimes be hard not to check out. However, what you want to be realizing here is, what am I doing wrong? What is the enemy team doing that's causing me so many problems, and how can I try and fix that in the future? And so just by trying not to check out when you have these terrible games, hopefully you'll be able to make yourself a little bit more of a well-rounded player in finding what your problems are and allowing yourself to work on them as much as possible so that next time this comes around, it doesn't go so poorly. Now, the other thing you can do is you can try and diversify the spots you go to. Of course, like I said, a lot of players have a kind of comfort spot when you're working picks. Some people on Dust 2 like to go mid, some people like to come up cat. You might even have a full-on comfort, play where you might come up cat, you might toss a flash off here, run up, jump backwards, and, try and kill people with that. That might be your comfort play. It might even be something as specific as that. However, what you want to be doing if you're having these consistency problems, which I'm sure most people at these lower ranks do, You want to be trying to vary up the places that you go and get a little bit of practice at different angles, or at least see the ways you can play other scenarios, and don't laser beam focus on going one spot every round, every game, because that's when you get shut down and you go into one of those hyper tilt scenarios and you just absolutely bomb and you cost your team the game, and it leads you to kind of feel like, oh my god, why can't my team carry me? Why do I have such inconsistency problems? All these things, which really just stem from you need to get a little bit more well-rounded, you need to be a better player, and when you start to become better, you will have much less consistency problems. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope this helps.